What's up, everybody? So my friends at Arris Hobby were kind enough to send me a quad. It is a Arris C250 version 2. It's a pretty cool little quadcopter. It's got a camo paint job on it. It is made out of 3K carbon fiber. It's an H-style frame, which is new for me. I've always just flown X frames. So I'm pretty excited to take this one out and fly it, but I wanted to put a video out there showing you guys how to set this up in Betaflight. I was looking online and there's really no tutorials on how to do that, so I pretty much just had to wing it. Luckily, I have had some Arris copters in the past and I knew exactly how to set them up and get them flying properly. So for me, I did have to flash the latest Betaflight 3.2.2, and in order to do that, I had to solder the boot pads inside of the flight controller. So if you get the almost ready to fly version, odds are you will have to do the same, and there are plenty of tutorials online to flash an F3 board, so make sure to check those out if you're not sure. So yeah, as the name suggests, this is a 250mm quad. It's a bit bigger than I've flown in the past. I'm normally running the 220s. It's made from 3K carbon fiber. The top and bottom plates are 1.5mm. I believe the camera plate is also 1.5. The arms are pretty beefy at 4mm. So yeah, this thing should be super durable, especially with the way it's designed. It's low profile, everything's neat and tidy inside of there. It's pretty compact, so I imagine a lot of new pilots won't have any trouble with crashes. It has the Arris X2205 2300 kV motor. These are basically Arris's flagship motors. They do pretty well. They're not like the super high-end type. They're not like emax motors, which I'm mostly accustomed to, and odds are I will be switching these out for my emax motors because it's just personal preference. That doesn't mean that they're not really good motors. They are certainly perfect for what it is. Any new pilot's gonna have a blast with these things. So again, that's just personal preference for me. I'm gonna go ahead and switch those out. I also did put a GoPro camera lens on the stock Arris camera that it comes with, just because I like a wider field of view. All right, so let's go ahead and tear into this thing and I will show you what the internals on this thing look like. All right, so after taking out like a million screws, we finally got into the quad. So first things first, you've got the Flycolor Raptor F390 flight controller. The flight controller itself is an F3 SP Racing flight controller. It has built-in OSD, and the bottom of the stack is a 30 amp 4-in-1 ESC and PDB. Moving on, you have the Arris camera. It is a fairly standard camera. It is an HS1177 700 TVL cam. It seems to work pretty great. It rivals the Runcams. Really, the only thing Runcam has over it is the fact that you can plug in to the back of it and change the camera settings. I haven't quite figured that out with this. I'm not even sure if you can, but if there is, I'm sure there are some tutorials on YouTube for you to check out. So it is a 5.8 gigahertz, 200 milliwatt VTX. It does come with a stock Arris 5.8 gig antenna. It does have LED lights on here and a little switch to channel through the 8 channels that it comes with. It's also a 40 channel receiver, so you shouldn't have any problems syncing this up to your goggles. I use 007 goggles and I had no problem. As soon as I turned the quad on, it was basically already there. For the almost ready to fly version, they do have a nifty little cable that you can just plug your receiver right into, and it was very straightforward and super easy to get that done. You will have to figure out how you want to mount it. I have mine mounted, as you can see, this way. Probably not the best way, but it works for me. All in all, the copter itself is pretty well designed. Everything's all neat and tidy in there. I like these all-in-one flight controllers here because it makes a build super tidy, and honestly, this is probably where things are going to go moving forward. You're not going to have those big bulky ESCs sticking out on the arms like most of my other quads have. And with all the Arris quads that I've had, especially with the X220 Pro, they are all neat and tidy, and the ESCs are all in one. It's got everything you need all in one stack, so it makes it super, super nice and easy to work with. This thing does come with standard Arris props. I was getting a lot of oscillations with those, so I did swap those out for some Dow 5046 Cyclones, and it took care of that problem. You can pretty much run anything you want. It does handle up to 6-inch props, which I haven't tested. Maybe I will in a future video just to see what it does, but you're probably gonna wanna stick with the 5-inch props on this thing. Yeah, that is pretty much it. So what we're gonna do is move on to the Betaflight setup portion. Before I start, I need to tell you that when I got this copter, it did not have anything flashed on it, so I did have to solder the boot pads, which are right next to the socket for the USB cable. So you may also have to do that if you get the almost ready to fly version especially. I'm not sure about any of the others, but at least the one that they sent me, I had to flash with the latest Betaflight 3.2.2, and there are plenty of tutorials for that, so if you need help with that, go ahead and surf YouTube because it won't be included in this video. But anyway, we already got all that out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and connect. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is go into the configuration tab here, and you will notice that it automatically has one-shot 125 for the ESC motor features. I do know that with this board it is not D-Shot compatible, at least not D-Shot 600. I'm not sure about the other ones, but I am pretty sure it is one-shot 42 and multi-shot. I just kept it on one-shot 125 because honestly I can't tell that big of a difference. I also have the minimum throttle set to 1055, which stock is 1070, so again, that's something that'll be personal preference. It's not really something that you're going to have to change in order for your copter to work properly. Also for me, I've got accelerometer turned off, so again, personal preference. As you already know, I use a FrySky X4R for my receiver. Whatever you have, make sure to select that. If you got a PPM, select that. PWM, RX input, select that if that's the type of receiver you have. But for anyone using a Taranis, most likely you've got a serial-based receiver, so go ahead and click on that. Make sure you have S-Bus selected. For me, I have everything on this turned off in this area, and I just have dynamic filter enabled. Once you get all that, go ahead and save and reboot. Okay, so the next most important thing in order for this quad to fly is you need to make sure that you have UART1 and UART2 configuration MSP selected. And also on the UART3, make sure to have serial RX enabled. After that, go ahead and save and reboot. So odds are if you have a fresh install of Betaflight, you are going to be running default, and what you're going to want is Spectrum Graupner Jr. Spectrum Graupner Jr. I'm not really sure what the Graupner and Jr. and all that is, but this is what you're going to want to enable. This is the channel map that you will need in order for these to be in the respective areas. So you've got roll and you've got pitch and yaw, and all of those are in the correct areas. I've also got switches enabled, which I'm not going to flip them because my copter will arm and I don't want it to arm right now, but anyway. Okay, so if everything looks good and everything is moving the way it's supposed to, what you're going to want to go ahead and do is just hit save. For me, I like to go ahead and get an ARM switch set up, and for me it's aux1. Again, if you don't know how to set up switches on a Taranis, there are plenty of tutorials to do that, but I have it set for aux1, and the value will fall right in here where I have the marker for it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's It's pretty cut and dry. It's pretty cut and dry, so you shouldn't have too many problems with it. If you do, go ahead and leave a comment and I will try to address whatever issue you have. There's also a powerful tool called Google, which we all know and love. So if you have questions that I might not have answered, go ahead and check in there and surely you'll find something. Oh, and just as an added bonus, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I have set for the PIDs in my rates. So you'll notice my numbers are pretty jacked up. That's just how I happen to have mine tuned. Don't copy this. If you do, it is at your own discretion, and I am not liable for any damages it might cause to your quad. And PIDs do not work for every single quadcopter. Every quad is different, so these are based on feel. All of my numbers here, I tweaked this based on what felt good to me. So you need to do the same. You can go and get close with what I have, but odds are you're going to get some oscillations or your P's are going to be too high, yada, yada, yada. There's a million things that could go wrong with your copter. Joshua Bardwell has some great tutorials on PID tuning. There's also a million others out there on YouTube that can walk you through what they mean and how each value affects the quadcopter. So check those out. But anyway, I've got my roll P at 59. I've got my pitch P at 80, my yaw P at 84, my I gains are at 77, 80, and 52, and then I keep the D at 32 for roll and 35 for pitch. I have them fairly high at 1.26 for roll, pitch, and yaw. My super rate is stock at 70, which gives me a max velocity of 840 for everything, and for my expo, I have 26 and 24. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and raise this up a little bit more because it is a little too touchy at the center of my stick, so I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and raise that up, and then this one 2 notches as well. For the PID controller settings, again, this is based on feel, and for me, I have it set at 0.54 and 0.52. My anti-gravity gain is at 5. And that is basically it for the PIDs. So you can check my filter settings. I have PT1 enabled, and I also have the gyro notch filter 1 and 2 disabled. As I've said before, Arris is a great company. They're really stepping it up as far as the quad market goes. They've got relatively inexpensive quads geared toward the professional and the newcomer alike. So make sure to check out their website. If you feel like it, go ahead and buy something, because honestly, you can't go wrong with this quad in particular, especially if you're just getting into the hobby, because it is super durable, it's very fast, and it's got some great components in it, and I think it'd be good for anyone starting out into the hobby. Even if you're like me and you've been in it for a little while, it's a great little quadcopter to have, and I've had a blast playing with it, setting it up, and ripping it around. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and cut to some Maiden footage. I hope you enjoy.